Welcome, everyone, to the Listen Care Fully podcast. I am Jen, your host, and we have a special guest today, Dr. Stephanie Young Moss. And she is a pharmacist who works with moms. And so we're having her on today to give us more information about different vaccination options and also how she's gotten into this field. I would love to hear your introduction to start out, just hearing the beyond the surface answer of how did you get into this work and how did this work find you, and what's your deeper why behind what you're doing and how you're helping people in today's day.
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me on. I really appreciate it. So I am a pharmacist by trade, and I've been a pharmacist for over 20 years. And I first got into pharmacy to be able to help people not only with prescription and medication issues, but also lifestyle and how to change your lifestyle, because that should always be the first thing that you do, of course. You shouldn't just have to run two prescriptions at first. So there's preventative ways that you can do that, and we'll talk about that later as well. But once I entered into my midlife era, I started realizing that I had certain changes and things that was going on with me that I really wasn't familiar with. So I would bring those issues to my doctor and talk to them about it. But they really never brought up they never really brought up anything as far as perimenopause or menopause. And so although I went to pharmacy school and I learned all about women's health, that was not a large section within our educational, years that we've learned all about pharmacy and all about different disease states and different organs and things of that nature. So once I started looking more into perimenopause and menopause, that is when I really, really just dove into all of the signs and symptoms that you see, different things that people are struggling with, even from the mental health aspect that people don't talk about. And it just really made me realize that as a pharmacist, if I'm going through this, and if I am still having to research on my own, that what are other people doing that they really probably aren't realizing what's going on with them. So I started to share my story on social media. And that's when I just found a whole other group of women that are just like me, who are in their, let's say you can start as early as 35, all the way up into your 50s, starting with perimenopause, which is just that transition period into menopause with them not even realizing what's going on with them. So I really want to share overall health, preventative health, and then with a focus on perimenopause and menopause. So that's also, I believe that vaccinations is also a part of that preventative health as well.
Okay, cool perspective. Yeah, I'm such a great proponent of preventative medicine as well, or not even medicine, but just ways that we can really take our power back and get ourselves in the driver's seat of our own health. Because I feel like a lot of time, and you probably know about this too, like the white coat syndrome, right? It's like if a doctor is here and they're telling us what to do, sometimes we outsource our power and say, okay, like they're the authority, they know, rather than that deeper intuition. Sometimes our intuition is whispering, even though our mind is loud, it can be that small distinction of like, wait a second, I want to try everything I can. Because I personally have been taking a deep dive into health these last few years, and I'm starting to learn that like Western medicine is more of emergency medicine,
That's true.
Like if we can do all of the things that we can do to take those steps to being healthy and to being well nourished and to have that mental health balance, and we can lean on some of these Western medicine pieces if we so need,
Right.
like that's kind of where the paradigm is shifting.
And I totally agree with that. And I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the main things that I try to do with the community that I've built is really not to tell them what to do, but to let them know, to equip them with the right things that they can talk to their healthcare provider about. So I have many people that come on the platform and they say, well, my doctor told me I'm too young to be going through this. Or my doctor said, I'm older than you and I'm not going through it, so it couldn't be true. And I just found that mind-blowing that doctors are saying that to women who are actually going through perimenopause and menopause and having signs and symptoms, but are being ignored, even though their body is telling them one thing. So I do things like I have a checklist that has different side effects and symptoms of perimenopause and menopause, and kind of what to look for, so women can check those things off of that list and take it into the healthcare provider and be able to at least start the conversation. Because some healthcare providers, if they've only been focused on, let's say, their OBGYN, they've been focused on delivering healthy babies, which is so important. But that takes a lot of brain power, energy, research, and time, so they may not be focused on perimenopause and menopause. That's not to say they're a bad doctor. That's just not where their focus is at that time. So
Mhm.
it's important for them to go back once they see that a lot of times their clientele will start to shift. They've delivered all of the babies. Now their clientele is aging. So it's time for them to go back and kind of refresh on perimenopause and menopause and see how it's affecting the people that they're serving.
Yeah, I feel like that really speaks to just how everything is. There is so much to learn and dive into, right? Like how you're
Mhm.
all these different specialties, but in reality, it's like everything's actually all connected. We kind of compartmentalize them only because we're like, well, that's our focus or that's our
Right,
specialty. You
right.
know, it's more so to say it's just because there's so much more to learn there. You know, you got to find someone that specializes because there's just so much in that area, you know.
Correct.
I'm wondering, I'm curious, does postpartum ever like overlap with premenopause? Like how
It can. If someone has a baby after a certain age, it can overlap if you really think about it. Because just because you're in perimenopause does not mean you can't get pregnant. So a lot of people think, well, I haven't had a cycle in 2 months or 3 months, and I'm not pregnant, but I probably can't get pregnant because I haven't had a cycle, but you still can. So people need to know that if you still are able to have a cycle, if your eggs are still being released, you still can get pregnant. So that's very important to remember. So it can overlap. You can have some postpartum that interlaps with it, and then also overlaps with it rather. Also, one of the things that I'm seeing is that well, not that I'm just seeing, but that I actually researched, is that there is um, a lot of side effects and symptoms that you see first will be mental for perimenopause and menopause. So people are always waiting for the hot flash, as I like to say, because that's the only symptom that you hear about, right? But there's so many more, but really people start to see the mental effects first. So it could be anxiety, it could be depression, could be if someone has already been diagnosed with, say, OCD, they may see an exacerbation of those symptoms or come back. If they have it under control and they start to see it get out of control, sometimes that could be the fluctuation in your hormones. So we're always waiting for the hot flash, but there are other signs and symptoms that come first. And like for me, it was probably some of the mental things too, but also heart palpitations was the biggest thing for me that I didn't realize. And I went to my doctor, told them I was having heart palpitations, and they sent me to a cardiologist, which is smart because you never know what your symptoms could
Mm,
be. I don't want you to just say, oh, it's heart palpitations, oh, it's just perimenopause, because you don't know. So I
mhm.
went and I talked to my healthcare provider, sent me to the cardiologist. It came back normal, but there was never a discussion of what it possibly could be, or that this could be perimenopause. There was never that discussion until I started researching on my own, and I saw that's what I had. That was it right there. And so I hear a lot of people saying that they had heart palpitations or different things of that nature as well. So yeah,
So it sounds like you really found the gap just based on through your own experience too, of
right.
where
Hmm.
you really needed to fill in that gap and take a stand for people so that they could feel seen and validated and
Hmm.
heard in their experiences too.
Right, exactly, exactly. And that's the biggest thing, I think, being validated. There are
Mhm.
so many people that comment on my post to say, um, I'm not crazy, or I knew I wasn't crazy, because they're being ignored. So when you get a community of people that are together talking about some of the same thing happened to them, it makes them feel have more relief that what they're going through is not, that they're not crazy, that this is actually normal transition phase of life.
Yeah, and not only is that more relatable, it's like you can connect through that experience too.
Yes, yes, exactly. I think that's one of the biggest thing I want to do on my platform is help those people connect, whether it's in a community that's on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, but then also going forward to the future, start to do things in person too, where they can connect and feel like they have that sense of community too as well.
Amazing. Yeah. As you were saying that piece about like the window of pregnancy, that's how my papa was born, my dad's dad. They
Mhm.
That's how he was born. They called him a miracle baby, but then also have a few clients right now too that's how they were born. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
interesting how, life always finds a way.
Exactly. Everything fell right into place for that to happen. So that's a miracle in itself.
Yes. So for those moms who are like coming either close to this stage of development or haven't even thought about it before, like what is perimenopause? Like how can you best define it, or what are some of the ways that people can start to tune in and notice for themselves, or if there are unique symptoms for themselves, like how they can start to think about it, or if things come on sooner than they anticipated.
Well, perimenopause is the definition of perimenopause um, is oh gosh, it's a simple term. Give me 1 second. You may have to edit this part. Um, and brain fog is a symptom of perimenopause, by the way. But it means close to menopause. That's exactly what it means. I just had a brain fog there, but it means close to menopause, and that's exactly what it is. It's just that period right before menopause. So, but that's exactly the term is, it means around menopause. It's just that period of time right before you are going into menopause. And menopause, the definition of it is not having your cycle for 12 months in one day. So once you have that, then you consider postmenopause. So menopause is really technically just like one day, to be honest. It's that day when your cycle stops at 12 months in one day. So you can be perimenopause from 4 to 10 years, and that's when your hormones start to fluctuate. They may start to decrease or increase. It just depends on a certain time of month. So that's why sometimes people will see their signs and symptoms kind of change. But that can go on from 4 to 10 years before your cycle actually stops when you're in menopause. Um, so they may start to see things like your cycle changing. It could become heavier. It could become lighter. It could become shorter, for instance, the days in between. So instead of having a 28-day cycle, you may see yourself starting to have, 23 or 24-day cycle. And then sometimes those cycles start to run together because the cycle is now lasting 2 weeks. And then, by that time, it's time for it to start again. So people will start seeing that shift in their cycles a lot of times too. But not only that, there are things like hot flashes, night sweats, some of the mental issues that I talked about earlier. Then also dry skin, heart palpitations, your ears could be itching and ringing and those types of things. So it's a lot of different signs and side effects because there are estrogen receptors all over the body. So once that estrogen starts to decline, that's when you'll start to see some of those things: joint pain, brain fog, all those things can be part. And everyone won't have every single symptom. I think that's important to remember. Somebody may not have any symptoms. And then there could be someone who has every single symptom on the list. So it just depends, on the person. But it can start anywhere from age, let's say 35, or it can start in your 50s. So the average age of menopause for white women is 51, and for Black women is 49. So I know, to me, when I first heard, I thought that sounded extremely young because I didn't realize that it was that young for people, that they could actually be menopausal. Because when you see the commercials, everyone, does not look like they're 49 or 51 to me. They make them seem older. So I really was. That's one of the reasons why I wasn't expecting it as well. So once you reach that perimenopause stage for maybe 5 to 10 years, then you go into menopause. But everyone's different. So the average is 49 and 51. But there are some people who may not be in menopause until they're 60. So that's why, of course, we call it an average. But I think that is important for us to see, especially as menopausal, being in menopause, is that you are taking care of yourself, that you're doing your self-care, that you're checking your vitamins, that you're making sure that you have all of your correct nutrients as well, because sometimes that can lead to worsening symptoms and side effects too. So just making sure, if you're going to your doctor, getting your checkups and checking your blood and making sure that you're updating your vaccines as well, just everything that plays into your overall optimal health, I think, is very important when you are reaching that transition in life.
Totally. I love that you mentioned that nourishment piece.
Mhm.
Like how often are we really nourishing ourselves,
Mhm. Yep. We're always worried about everybody else. I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
We're always worried about everyone else. You know, we're worried about if our kids are eating a balanced meal, if they're up to date on our doctor's appointment, making appointments for everyone else, but then we miss our own right appointments. We miss our own making sure, did we skip a meal? Did I eat today? You know, things like that. So we have to make sure it's not just about taking the vitamins pills, but also getting it in your food as well, and making sure that you know the way you eat may have to change during that time. There could have been things that you could have eaten or skipped a meal, but now you're in this stage of life. It's time for you to start seeing where are the holes in my nutrition. Where do I need to make sure that I'm getting enough fruits, veggies, and vitamins and minerals as well.
Yeah. Have you heard of seed cycling? Like the different protocols of what to eat while you're in your cycle?
Yes, I have heard of it some. Most of the people that I deal with are out of their cycle, but I have heard of it some. But you can talk about it if you want to, Jennifer.
I
That'd be
was
great.
I was wondering if there was seed cycling for this stage. I've never even looked into it because I
You
hadn't.
know, I've heard of it, but not in the stage of menopause, perimenopause, and menopause, because your cycle is so erratic and unpredictable sometimes that it's hard to really know what phase am I in. So I think that's you may have to, you know, you probably can tell with your body, you know, what does it feel like, but if I'm not ovulating anymore, or am I ovulating? Am I ovulating this month? So it's kind of hard to kind of narrow that down as far as what phase you're in. So I think to me, it may be hard to, I would guess it would be hard to figure out the cycles, but there could be a way. So I have to do more research to see if there's a way to be able to tell that as well.
Okay, because I've learned like the menstrual cycle or the menstrual phase, the follicular phase, and
Mm-hmm,
the ovulation phase. It's great to have pumpkin seeds and flax seeds.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Like in that luteal phase, it's good to have
mm-hmm,
sesame and the sunflower. But the
mm-hmm,
other version I've heard is if you go by the moon cycles, like the full moon would be
mm-hmm,
um, the ovulation, the new moon would be the inner winter, the
mm-hmm.
menstrual phase. So I would be curious if that could.
Yeah. But I
Well,
will say the flaxseed and sesame seed is always, you know, the phytoestrogen. So they're always really good to give you that estrogen as well. So I always I put sesame seed in my salads a lot and in my and flaxseed in my smoothies. So
amazing. Well, that's one of the things that's making me think of um like the top ways to prioritize health, like
hmm hmm
how can we put ourselves first? Like you said, parents can start to put their kids first, which is great, but to make sure that they're also being taken care of too.
right, exactly. And that's why I think it's important, you know, when I'm talking about vaccines, that it's important for us. We always know our kids, you know, when their vaccinations were, we have their cards, they're up to date. But when it comes to us, like, have you seen where's your vaccination card? When is the last time you've had a vaccine? Are you up to date? Because there are some things as adults that we need to also make sure that we're catching up on as well. And one of those is the vaccine for hepatitis B. There is a new guideline from the CDC that anyone that is between the ages of 19 and 59, that they should be getting an update on their hepatitis B shots. Most people, if they've had a hepatitis B vaccine, they will probably know it. But anyone that was born before 1959, I believe, make sure that I believe it's 59, 71, before 1971, that they did not actually have the hepatitis B shot. 1991, I'm sorry, 1991. So if you were born before 1991, that's when they put the actual guidelines in place that when you're born, you have your hepatitis B shot. So most of us who were born before that, we did not have our hepatitis B shot. So it's time for us to catch up and make sure we have our hepatitis B vaccine as well, because our kids are all caught up and we're not.
Very interesting to know.
Yeah. So I think that one of the ways of really making sure that we're taking care of our overall health is when you go into the doctor and you're getting your blood work testing, you're getting your blood work checked, go ahead and ask your healthcare provider about your hepatitis B vaccine as well. You can get that from your pharmacist or your doctor. And there are about 260 million people currently that have hepatitis B. And that is, it's also 100 times more it's 100 times more infectious than HIV as well. So we really need to pay attention to it because I believe that it's one disease state that does not get a lot of attention, or what it does or how it can affect the body. It does affect your liver, and it can also lead to liver cancer as well. So it's very important that we're making sure that we are up to date on it, that we're talking to our healthcare provider about it, and then also making sure that we go into the pharmacies as well and ask for it as well.
Because liver in ancient Chinese medicine is anger,
Yes,
or
yes.
represents anger, anger
Hmm.
slash passion. So
Hmm.
sometimes too, like we have to get angry to know like where our boundaries start, and if we're being pushed over our edge, it's like, oh, this is something I really care about. Like I got to bring my voice to this.
Yes, yes. And can we pause for 1 second? Can this be an edit pause right here? So, Jennifer, as I mentioned before, that it's so important to make sure that you're caught up to date on your vaccines. And because there is no cure for hepatitis B, and the only way is to protect yourself is by getting, well, the best way to protect yourself is by making sure that you have your hepatitis B vaccine as well. Um, the vaccine is administered in a 2-dose series, and that particular vaccine is Hepatitis B. It's the first and only hepatitis B vaccine that is delivered in a 2-dose over a 1 month period, which is convenient, right? Because of course, as moms, we're always busy, or as people in general, we're always busy. Whether you're a mom, father, or whether you even don't have kids, it's important for us to make sure that we're looking at these types of things for ourselves. But as far as convenient, it is very convenient as far as your dosing as well. So most people ask what type of side effects or symptoms that you can see with this, but it's just like you would see with any other vaccine. So it could be your local injection site irritation, could be a headache, those types of things. Fever, headache could be possible as well, but it's just like it is with any typical vaccine too. But if people want to know more about it, they can actually go to hepbcatchup.com, because it's important that we catch up with our kids because they're already vaccinated and we are not vaccinated for hepatitis B.
Awesome. So cool.
Okay.
So anything else that you would like to share for, I guess, parents, mental health,
Hmm.
ways that we can stay on top of our health, stay in connection, stay in community,
Hmm.
really being able to prioritize, I feel like has been the theme.
Yeah, I think priority is putting your priority first, making sure that you're taking care of yourself, because, like I said, we're always taking care of everyone else. So that's making sure that if you're having to do a lifestyle or nutrition adjustments because you're aging, make sure that you're looking to that. Also, increasing your exercise, increasing your movement and your strength training. I think that's all important for anyone doing whatever life period they're in, but especially people who are in perimenopause and menopause. And then also going and talk to your healthcare provider about whether you're making sure that you're having your annual checkup, looking at your vitamins, looking at your vaccines that are due, looking at which tests that you should be taking as well, depending on your age. I think all of that is important to make sure that we live in our optimal health and have preventative health is by making sure that we're up to date on all those things.
And I heard you mention earlier, like that overlap of depression that can sometimes happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to hear about how depression is related to like the burnout, the exhaustion, because I know that especially, new moms, but moms in general, like they get less sleep than they've had during their lives. So I would.
Yes, yes. And of course, sleep can affect that as well. It can make it worse as well. But I think the main tell me, what was your question again about the depression piece?
I would love to just hear, yeah, like tips for um people that do experience the exhaustion based
Right.
depression, or just the depression that develops from
Hmm.
the burnout, like falling into that slump or that pattern or that cycle,
Hmm.
like if that is related to exhaustion, like how to support people in this phase.
Well, I mean, it can be related to exhaustion, of course, especially brain fog can be related to that as well. But I think that it's important for us to first realize and acknowledge if you feel like you are in that type of state, because a lot of times we may not realize that everyone thinks that depression is just sadness, but sometimes it's more than that. It could be irritability, could be mood swings. It could be that you just don't feel like doing the things that you used to do. So first, I think is recognizing and talking to someone about that is really important. And then also, like you said, of course, making sure that you're getting enough sleep. doing things as far as uh, changing how you go to sleep, having a sleep pattern, those types of things. I know it's hard, especially if people have young kids sometimes, to get that sleep. I remember people used to tell me, you're going to have maybe 4 years of not sleeping, but sometimes that, that does not have to be the case. You just have to make sure that you have your sleep routine, your sleep pattern done, make sure that your diet and exercise is reflecting that, making sure that you turn off your phones or your blue light, an hour before you go to bed. So all those things are so important when it comes to getting that sleep in, because it can affect you mentally as well, and also contribute to the irritability and different types of mood swings as well. So it's really important that you do that too.
Totally.
And then also just one other thing is making sure with getting sleep and your nutrition as well. What types of nutrition, types of nutritional things that you're getting? Because magnesium is great for helping you get to sleep and helping you calm and relax and those types of things. So looking at certain vitamins and minerals like that, vitamin D also is very important when it comes to your mental health and depression too. So I think that when people go to their healthcare provider, whether they're checking on their Hep B vaccine or whether they're checking to see if they need some type of blood work done, it's important for them to also look and see, am I deficient? What am I deficient in? Am I deficient in vitamin D? Am I feeling this way because of that too? Because that could be also contributing to it as well.
So important. And we're at altitude here, so hydration has never been more important, and being able to, stay like the electrolytes too.
Yes, that was right on cue.
Like just having the right amount of salt. I'll put like a little black lava salt, some lemon, some mushrooms, just have some sort of great way to start. It can be starting with those really simple steps, or just remembering to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I would say to wrap it up, I don't know if you have any other questions for me or not, but I think one of the biggest things is to make sure that you're being heard and not taking any signs or symptoms that you have lightly, and making sure that you are all caught up on all of your testing, all of your vaccinations, making sure that you have a community of people that you can talk to help you get through certain phases of life. Excuse me. Make sure that you're changing the way that you eat, move, and drink to go along with it, whatever phase of life you're in. I think all those are important. Really making sure that you're sitting down and giving yourself an evaluation of what is my lifestyle really like. Because, a lot of times we may say, well, I only drink, wine once a night, which is fine, but are you having hot flashes? Are you having, really look and see, what are you doing that's affecting your health, and how's it affecting your health? Are you gaining weight because you're having that glass of alcohol every night? So really take a really good food journal and see how the things that you're eating or drinking are affecting you. So I like to say things in moderation, but when you're really looking to see how it's affecting you, you need to just make the decision if you need to eliminate some things out of your diet, or add some things to your diet, or add some exercise as well. So I think that's always very important.
That's so true. The way I like to give parents that test is the stress test. Like, can you, at the end of the night when everything's done, can you sit on the couch for 5 minutes without reaching for that dopamine hit? Right? Can you sit there reaching for the alcohol, without reaching for the ice cream, without reaching for the scrolling, right? Or do you literally feel like you can't? Like, is your nervous system equipped for that?
Yes.
A great way to measure your stress
That
level.
is that's a very good way. I think a lot of times we tell ourselves, oh, I deserve it, I had a hard day, but you also deserve better, to be able to live at your highest functioning, your highest self, so that you can make sure that you're giving back to everyone else, because we give out so much to everyone that we don't put back into ourselves as well.
Yeah, we just want to know that we're taken care of too, and to remember, like, what we choose today impacts us tomorrow.
Yes, it does. Exactly. And I think that's one of the things, even with my exercising, I used to lift weight heavily, and now I'm just to the point where I want to be able to do things for the future Stephanie when I'm older. Am I able to walk upstairs with myself? Am I able to go on a European vacation and walk on the cobblestone? But things like that is what I'm looking for, more now. Can I get up off the couch by myself? So that's really where my focus is now, flexibility and mobility moving towards the future. When it used to be, I want to get in this dress and look cute and my arms are out. But now it's moving towards more of the future me and what I want, when I'm older, the things I want to be able to do, the way I feel.
I love that, like around experiences, because those are priceless, you know?
Yep, they are. Exactly.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, what do you do for fun? Like, what do you love? What is your passion?
Uh, well, I really like traveling. I do like traveling. I wish I could, well, I can. I want to be able to do it more, and I will be doing that more. I think that, and then also spending time with my girls. I have two daughters that play volleyball. So that's a lot of times my travel consists of volleyball tournaments, which is fun, but that as well. And then also just spending time with friends and family, I think is also really, really as well.
So special. I'm starting sand volleyball this summer, so that'll
Are
be
you? You say you're starting what type of volleyball?
in the sand.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So they play beach volleyball. Um, we actually have some indoor courts here. Of course, we have outdoor too, but a lot of times during the off season, they will play beach. Like, yes, so my daughter's playing beach next week. That's
Amazing.
fun. Yeah, that's fun. My volleyball days are, I used to do it when I was younger, a lot like high school younger, but now it's more about, like I told you, I'm not playing volleyball. Every now and then I'll get out there and help them doing practice, and they're like, Mom, I'll play more. I'm like, you got your skills from me, so.
Volleyball with her same crew. She's got like a whole group of friends, and it changes as they get older. It's so fun.
Oh, yeah, that is cool. That's really cool.
Volleyball runs in my blood too.
Oh, good.
I'd say the same. Like I definitely got it from my mom for
Oh,
sure.
good. Yeah, so both of my sisters played in college. I did not, but yeah. So now my daughters are both like they want to both play during college. So hopefully they will be able to do that. But there, right now, it's volleyball tournaments all over at least the Midwest. But yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I'm from Ohio, so I
Oh, okay.
understand that Midwest lifestyle. We're up there, and yes, volleyball tournaments on the weekends.
Yep.
That's what we spend the day. So sweet. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you so
No
much
problem.
for sharing your plethora of knowledge. And let's see, what is one of your summer goals?
One of some is to travel more. I do have a couple of trips planned, so that's good. Excuse me. Also, is to get outside more. So I start. I have a dog that's doing very well over there right now, but taking her out and walking her maybe a couple times a day. So that's really helping me also get back and and making sure that I'm staying active as well. So walking her, getting outside more, traveling more, and then also just creating um, a healthier activity level around outdoors too.
Totally. Amazing. Well, thank
Mhm.
you so much.
No
And
problem.
where can people find you if they want to connect further?
They can look at Dr. Stephanie Yomo on any social media platform. That's Dr. Stephanie Yomo. And then also my website is drstephanieyomo.com, and all the information is there. And don't forget, for if they want to look at their hepatitis B, they can go to Hep B Catch Up to learn more about that as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you for having me.
Take good care, everyone. Bye.